Aidan Kelly, actor.
Aidan, that's probably the best intro anyone's ever done on this. Aidan, you're in London at the moment, yeah?
Yeah, here in sunny Catford.
And it's gas, technical hitches. We did this two weeks ago, and the whole thing went skewies on us. So it's kind of gas. Speaking probably 3 weeks later, and we're still in the same kind of situation. The never-ending.
Yeah, my beard's got a bit longer, I think.
It has actually, yeah, it has indeed.
Yeah, but real lockdown locks here, you know.
Lockdown locks, very good. And also I'll have to kind of come clean and say that I know Aidan for many years. We won't get into that now, but we might talk about it as we kind of get through it. So Aidan, talk to me about you as a kid growing up. Like, were you always the actor? And I know you're kind of into drawing as well. So was that always a part of your young life?
Not really till I was about 15. I'd done some stuff in primary school, Mrs. Felton's speech and drama class, and we'd done a couple of feshina, but nothing. There was no real. There's no tradition of it in my family. Nobody before me was an actor. Nobody on either side of the family had ever tread the boards or stood in front of a camera. I suppose my mother made me go to Lorraine O'Brien's nascent youth drama group. Yeah. Because my mother and Lorraine grew up together, and she needed people, so I went along, and here I am.
Yeah, and
30 years later.
Wow. Yeah, great. But drawing. Was drawing always there? I mean, was that artistic kind of process there for you?
I think that was what was open to me at the time. I think you'd probably find that with most people, isn't it? It's whatever your resources are is how you'll find a way to express yourself. What was available to me up to that point was pen and paper.
Yeah.
Pencils and paints, and when the youth theatre became available, then it became that. When somebody put a guitar in my hand, it was that.
Okay.
I find that now it's this time that we're living through, this sharp left turn of history.
Yeah.
Which is what it is. I think maybe I feel it myself, about what I'm learning about myself, and I'm not a hugely creative person that I thought I'll write the novel. I haven't written any novels. I haven't written anything. I've actually got some writing projects that I should do, and I'm not doing them.
Well, I think that's a kind of quite normal reaction as well. It's kind of, I think there's an awful lot of people who kind of have great plans in their heads, and then kind of, because of the situation that we're all in, it's very difficult to motivate yourself as well,
Yeah. I'm doing loads of shopping. Seriously, the hunt. Are we allowed to curse on this?
Yes.
Okay, I'm not going to now purposely curse. It's just something nearly came out there, but I just wanted to caught myself.
Yeah.
And I will continue to catch myself if I can. The hunter-gatherer has really come out in me. That instinct to look after my own, and I mean, it's bad over here, man. It was a lot of people dying here, and I'm seeing it everywhere. My neighbors, they're getting it. I think I have had it. The girl's mama's had it. So a lot of people here in Ireland. I don't hear of it. I hear it from my sister. Now I know everyone's experience is different, but I heard it from my sister. Who's in Ballybracken. I was in Tesco's, and I bumped into a fella whose mother-in-law knows a chap who they think he has it if he can get a test, but he can't get a test.
Yeah.
But here, I mean, literally, it's everywhere.
Wow.
It's because of how close we were all squashed together or something. I don't know. So the experience of going to the shops is different here. I don't know.
Yeah.
And you come across two types of people. You come across the ones with the masks on who are totally crossing the street to get away from you, and you come across the ones who are coming right into your face as if they don't even know, as if they've never opened a newspaper or looked at the news since.
Mad. We live in strange times.
Sorry, and I went off point. Sorry, and because you asked me the question.
I was going to say, just take me back to those kind of magic times you say with the rain and dry rain, and kind of What woke there for you, Aidan? I mean, like, you know, for someone who hadn't been on the stage or hadn't been near the stage, what happened?
I suppose they put a real emphasis there, I think, on improvisation. On it wasn't about how well you interpreted a role, or it wasn't. It was get up there and use your imagination
Mm.
to tell a story, or to and those tricks, those little things that we all put together, those little games. And I had been in the scouts, in the cubs, in the scouts up to that point, and loved all that. Loved the idea of being around all those people and doing stuff. So moving on to youth theatre was just it was another group of people. There was girls, which hadn't happened up to that point. So
Yeah.
um,
And
but the idea was games. It was come up and play games and use your imagination. And up to that point, you know, we're all put into a thing in school, aren't we? I mean, the education system, I'm sure it's better now than it was then, but it was all rote learning, and there was no real, certainly where I went to school up to that point. I went to a school called Clonkean College. I had a wonderful art teacher there, Mr. O'Donoghue. Um, but that was the only outlet for any kind of expression in secondary school. It wasn't that kind of a school. I think, as far as I know, everybody went on. I mean, it's probably telling that I don't keep in touch with any of those people from that school, and none of the badness, but we have very little in common.
yeah, I mean,
You know?
I think there's a number of things. Like, I think obviously I was involved kind of during those times in Bray in Dry Rain. It seemed to be both the magic of youth theatre, which is kind of a magic space anyway, but there's a confluence of people and time and, you know, people stages they were at. There was an incredible 6-7 years there where, you know, you came, you know, through the ranks and ended up kind of, you know, facilitating yourselves and, as I said, devising and being in lots of stuff. And then from that, you know, kind of semi-professional and professional theatre companies kind of grew out of it. But within all that space and time, Aidan, was it kind of becoming more serious in your head?
I suppose as my other avenues were closing down. I wasn't, you know, I'm going to try and light, because I wasn't particularly, I wasn't switched on in school. Again, it's just something I'm learning now, that education is, that, you know, but it's like people when they grow. Then people don't, I think, you know, when I'm 12 and someone else is 12, we don't necessarily all grow at the same time. Some people grow and then by 15 they finish growing. Other people don't start until they're 16, and but you know, and then they become twice as big as the other person. Why is it not thought to be the same for people's minds? Why is it assumed that everyone's head is going to be at the same point at the same age? I don't think I learned anything until I left school.
Okay.
So I think the whole school thing for me was not particularly, it wasn't a great experience, I think.
Yeah.
But what it was it was the youth theatre that that's where I was growing, doing something. So it seemed to me that when I left school, and you're told, aren't you, you got to make some choices here now. I mean, I went to do art college and it didn't work out. I mean, again, it wasn't really what I wanted to do, but it seemed the closest thing to what I could possibly do.
Yeah.
But yeah, it seemed I was good at it, and so I enjoyed it. So why not try and make a living out of it?
And then I suppose, like, through that and through the experience of being in the youth theatre and through then kind of, you know, finding that art college wasn't for you, and it was kind of, but there was also kind of a grafter, all kind of, you know, gets a sense of, like, you know, you say like you pick up guitars and you kind of learn musical instrument. There's always a sense to kind of work off you as well, Aidan. Do you know what I mean? You kind of go, okay, if I'm doing this, I need to be putting myself into spaces where this might happen. So, like, how did you negotiate that space when you're kind of leaving college and kind of leaving youth theatre and kind of wanting to do it? How did that happen for you?
Well, I had no plan. There was nothing in my head that was no clear plan. I think, you know, I left the Dún Laoghaire College of Art and Design. I was doing animation there. I left that and I went down to the Dole office. I signed on. I walked past the old Dominican convent and they were doing a show in there, the new Gasworks, because the Gasworks was something that used to be done down in Glastool in the old Eagle House, well, the Eagle House. These were the new Gasworks, and they were putting a play on, and I went in and asked them, could I be the stage manager? They said, yeah. I got the Equity Grapevine number. I heard someone say it. You know, you couldn't get into Equity until, wasn't that the deal?
Yeah.
You couldn't get into Equity unless you had an Equity card. You couldn't get to a play until you had an Equity card, and you couldn't get an Equity card until you did a play. It was that great conundrum, you know, that Chinese box, you know, the kind of, how do you unlock that? But anyway, I got the Equity Grapevine number. So it was a number you rang, and it had an answering machine that was updated, I think, maybe every day, maybe once a week or so, or every few days. And you heard about the jobs. So-and-so theatre company is looking for someone, auditions taking place. Please ring this number. I got a gig doing a TIE show for foreign language students. And we traveled around. I just thought, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
You know, I hadn't been to Cork. I hadn't been to Limerick or Galway, I think. Maybe, no, I don't think I had been. And suddenly I was in these places around the country, living out of hotels or whatever, bed and breakfasts, and doing a show in the evening and getting paid for it. I just thought that was it. I think that was it.
And I suppose, what was it as much of the, or, you know, could I get a sense off you, you know, and, you know, we talk about it as we get through it, but I mean, your career has kind of brought you to many, 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 many places, both for a long time and then on tour. Was that kind of a, you know, that's kind of there's a, I suppose, touring rock and roll vibe off that as well. Was that kind of like feel good to you as well, as much as being on stage as a touring piece?
Loved it. Loved being in places and finding out about and walking around and seeing new things. And my dad always says, you know, yeah, you should learn to play golf because there's so many places you can play golf around. Anywhere you go now. No, I haven't learned to play golf, but maybe I'm still young. Maybe this time, but no, always enjoyed that. It changes when you get older and you got kids and everything. But at the time, I mean, I can go away for shorter stints, and now, you know, go away doesn't mean as much as say New York or Cape Town.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, once you're there for the first time, it's a magical experience, and I had lots of those magical experiences.
And it's gas because there's, you know, because I remember it well, that Grapevine number and the excitement of kind of ringing it up and then the kind of, oh shit, it's the same message as yesterday. See, you know what I mean? That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I suppose as well, you know, I mean, we reconnected a few years later when you came back to Bray and we kind of did a show together. But in those intervening years, there was a couple of years there where you were very busy very early. I mean, you fell into kind of but you kind of auditioned and worked in Punchbag, the much missed Punchbag in Galway for a couple of years.
Yeah, that was the Grapevine #1 as well, I think. It was a show called No Comet Scene. 11 guys in the army, First World War. Great experience. Great fun to do. We got 50. I'm reckon this right. We got £50 a week, and we were allowed to take our dole claims to Galway. And they would sign forms for us to say that we had to go on they didn't even give us accommodation. They found a house for us and told us we had to get rent allowance. So we got time off rehearsals to go in and go to the Western Health Board, I suppose it was, and go in and get make an excuse to get your rent allowance for the house. You know, get your dole and get your 50 quid on top of that as well. So they were, and it was about 1990, 95, 93, 94, somewhere around that.
Yeah, it was. I remember because we kind of did a kids show down there around that time as well for the Galway Arts Festival. Dreamcatcher was kind of around that time.
I think that was a little bit after it.
Was it? Yeah. Anyway,
I think I had done that. I think I had worked with Punchbag at that point.
Okay. But come here, I
No,
mean, like I think as well, like within that, you know, there was the traveling was in it. You know what I mean? I think there was you were dead down in Galway, and you came back to Dublin, and we did an old show, Hype, which was kind of great. And then, but then again, you kind of went into Peacock. You know, then you're into kind of
I went into the Abbey.
yeah, into sucking the Dublin, was it, or was that before that? Because I know Johnny Boy was kind of around that time as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, actually, I think you're right. I think it was stuck in Dublin.
Yeah.
I had. I remember reading the play and not liking it. I thought it was too out there for me. But they cast. It was Enda Walsh. It was an Enda
Yeah.
Walsh play. But they cast me in it, and Patrick Mason was running the place then. So that's how long ago it was. But it was great. It was great for me. And again, it was kind of. I think. Am I wrong when I say this? Is that a lot of people go to college and they find out kind of what they're about, and then they go and bring that to the party, you know, whatever play or movie or whatever they do. I only found out who I was after the fact.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? I didn't know I could do those kind of parts or be that kind of. I didn't know I had that kind of energy on stage until it was required of me, and then I saw myself do it, and I can do this.
Mm.
I didn't go in with any kind of surety or.
But that takes that takes some confidence, though, or some kind of self-belief or blind faith in relation to kind of make, because they're big steps early on, you know. I mean, going into the Peacock and then the Abbey, and then, you know, then on we go through a mock and speaker stuff. That's kind of a very quick progression for a young actor to make.
I think nobody had told me I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And I hadn't realized myself that I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
It's the gift of youth. You know, it's why trying to start anything now, to sit down and write something or try a completely different form.
Yeah.
I know too much now about the other stuff, so I know how hard it is. And I think to myself, I really want to start again at the beginning. I'm going to go through all of this again, you know?
Yeah.
Luckily, I didn't know anything then. It was the gift of ignorance.
Yeah. And then I suppose, I mean, obviously that can only carry you so far. And as you kind of go through those processes, I'd imagine, you know, armor starts to come, or not armor, but kind of mechanisms start to arrive for you. I mean, I remember seeing you around that time in Dermot was Grania, which was in the Olympia. But that also traveled. I mean, that was kind of, you know, one of Paul Mercier's seminal works, and that traveled all over the place as well, didn't it?
I think we did a little bit of touring on that. I have photographs. I remember Pat and DP on that show.
Yeah.
And I listened to Pat McGrath's talk with you.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that. It was lovely to hear. Lovely to hear Pat talking about all that time with Passion Machine as well. Great experiences. Again, you know, I mean, any actor, any director, anybody is just is a collection of all the people you've been lucky enough to work with, and
yeah,
formed you as because you have to work differently with everybody, and with that in mind, you have to you mold different sides of yourself. You know, you sculpt yourself.
Yeah, but I mean, you were around some kind of, you know, there's a lot of work that was kind of new. I mean, obviously this kind of path, if you look at back now as a back narrative, but that kind of first path you were on was leading towards Howie, you know, in the next couple of years around that. But I think there's kind of if you look back, there's a lot of kind of new work that you were involved in there that was, you know, really interesting stuff. And did you have, like, when did you start getting an awareness of stuff that you were interested in, like stuff that you would seek out, or stuff that, you know, held more of an interest for you than other stuff, say?
Again, I don't think I ever had a plan. I don't think there was ever a plan. I mean, there was definitely people I was interested in. There was definitely a vibe and an energy that was going around at the time. And you know, there was people doing exciting things, and Marco Rowe was one of those people. You know, to be around those people, to be around people like Carl Shields and you know, Eugene O'Brien was still acting, but you know, he was starting to write, and they were all really interesting people, and they were good people to be around.
Yeah,
you know, There was no plan. There was no. I was lucky, man. I was one of the lucky ones in that. And you know, Mark had been very good. I think Mark was very clear about wanting to write that. He wanted to write that for me and Carl. I know for a fact that my agent at the time was trying to talk him out of hiring me and hire somebody who was on the up, you know, who was more bankable, I suppose.
Yeah.
But Mark stuck to his guns and went, no, these are the guys I want. This is who I want.
And then that exploded. I mean, that was an incredible piece of theatre, but all aspects of it. And I mean, how many years did you end up doing that, Aidan?
We were about 2.5 years. From January '99 was when we came over here to London. Cold, wet, miserable London, to rehearse that show. And then I think we finished it. We finished it in March 2001. And I know that because we finished it, but we were on retainers we finished it in San Francisco after a 5-week run in San Francisco, and had done a 4-week run in New York just before that. But I had gone down to Mexico to get married, and we were on retainers for 3 months. And so I just stayed in Mexico. I didn't need to go anywhere. Because they gave us money, gave us $1,000 a month. So I could live on that in Mexico. So I just stayed in Mexico. And then we were to open in the Minetta Lane Theatre in Greenwich Village on the 10th of September 2001.
Lovely.
So it was never, but the union kicked us out. The union kicked us out 2 weeks before. They said they're not coming in. They were having a big fight with British Equity at the time, and so, but it would have opened on the 10th of September, and it would have closed on the 11th of September. Yeah. Obviously,
it's amazing the way the world turns, and
yeah.
And within all that time, there's, you know, you kind of had been doing a kind of TV in Ireland, which you kind of hit. I mean, you know, you'd done Fair City around that time. And I remember that time that the character kind of, there's a bit of notice around, you know, from the public around your work in Fair City, and you know, Bachelor's Walk would have been around that time. And did you find that? Or were they very different things to you? I mean, obviously the context is different, but like, you know, did you enjoy the sort of screen as much as you did the stage?
I enjoyed the camera work very much, but I have always felt that I'm an imposter on camera. I understand the idea of capturing moments, of grabbing things, of creating something, but it just doesn't mean anything to me. I think I'm an absolute creature of the stage.
Yeah. And can we go back to the stage and go back to Howie for a second? Did yourself and Carl know, like, that there was something there from very early days? I mean, is that Carl and Mark kind of go, yeah, you know, there's something here?
No, I mean, Jesus, man, I would have, I could, you know, I have countless moments of where I just think this is it. This is the best thing ever. And it just fades, and then things you just don't even think about, for some reason they catch things. It's such a rare thing. The rarest thing is to get the right people at the right moment, in the right headspace, into a room, and for people to, you know, to be in the right parts and the right director. And I mean, even like, you know, even that's a rare thing. Putting a director together with the particular piece of writing and the particular group of actors, and how those people get on or don't get on sometimes. And then, you know, how where the play is and when it is, and who watches it. It's, you know, if we had premiered Howard the Rookie in Plymouth, and I say Plymouth in particular because I remember we did the play there, and they just didn't have a fucking clue. They didn't know what to make of it. And then we took it to Glasgow. And the Glasgow has more of a Dublin sense of humor than Dublin has.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just got it. But I mean, if we hadn't put it on in London, to that audience in the bush, in that environment with you know, and that kind of a theatre. That maybe if I had been in Dublin, because they've done it in Dublin since, but I don't think it's ever really bitten. I know, you know, they put publicity machines behind all these things, so it's hard to know if something's really, really caught the imagination or if there's just a lot of advertising. Sometimes it can be hard to distinguish between the two, but I think anybody involved would really know. And there was just, it's just all those things came together. This happened years later on once when I did in the West End.
Yeah.
We formed a band. We formed we were in the Phoenix Theatre, and man, we played really well together. We were great, you know, and we'd been trained to play well together. We were like a football team, you know. I mean, we were practicing day in, day out with the best, one of the best musical directors in the business. Yeah. So we were blessed, and we played so well together, and we formed the band, and I had got someone organized to go and get us gigs and stuff outside this, and we were getting a following. We were, and there was the whole folk scene. This is about 6 years ago. The whole folk scene here was starting to really kind of, you got these bunch of people who come, like, you know, a 10-piece, who could go down to a 6-piece if people dropped out. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
All these people working together and playing, and they took it for granted. They said, well, fuck this, you know, we can do this shit anytime. I said, lads, I'm telling you, these opportunities, these flashes of where everything just seems to fit together so well, they come along so rarely. And they didn't believe me. And they actually, 3 of them broke off and said, you know, we are the center of this, and we're going to get gigs every week, and it's all gone now.
Yeah.
And those guys,
yeah, it is those kind of confluence of kind of energies, and yourself and Carl certainly had it. You know, I think there was a time in Dublin there as well, though, a time in Dublin theatre that was a lot of stuff emerging. And then, I mean, over the next kind of decade, like, you worked in the big houses constantly playing serious roles. You know what I mean? I'm not kind of just saying that lightly, but I mean that there was some continuity there in your career, and kind of going from, you know, the madness of the barbaric comedies to, you know, to Macbeth with Second Age, to View from a Bridge. You can list them all off and off and off. And it's funny, from knowing you, I kind of go, oh yeah, Aidan, and you can look back and kind of go, oh Jesus, yeah, because Aidan did that. You know, Jack Clitheroe in the Plough. And I suppose the bit you said earlier on, Aidan, about, you know, feeling that you kind of were lucky, or just kind of, you know, segued into it. At what stage did you kind of go, yeah, okay, this is breaking into a whole other kind of space for me now, that I have that confidence to kind of take this all in?
I think I was with a particular agent, and I think this is when I really started. I think this is when I kind of took it seriously. I think, if you know, not to have a plan, and then to have a plan. I was with a particular agent who's a very, very good agency, but I switched to another agency. I switched to First Call, Maureen McGlynn, and Maureen, I felt, treated me like the actor I saw myself capable of being. And sometimes it's little things, but it's that different mindset, because you don't do it on your own. You know, you need people around you, and you need people who are. I always said, you know, I take the work seriously. I don't take myself seriously, but I certainly had somebody who took the work as seriously as I took it.
Yeah.
And that sometimes, all that means, they don't necessarily get you the jobs, but they put you in the place where you're in contention with some of the other people.
Yeah.
Also have that, and I think that was a switch for me, because what it meant was then she saw me as a lead actor in those things, and would push for me for those, to get me into the room to be seen for those things. So that made a difference.
Yeah. And then when you got to the stage on those, like when you kind of, got in the room, then got the job, did that feel kind of different than when you're on the stage? Was that kind of, was there a more rock solidness to you in your head around what you were doing?
Well, again, yeah, you learn from the work you do, I suppose. You and the people who you're working with. So Ireland's not huge, so you tend to come across the same people a lot. There's a beauty in that, and there's a danger in that as well, isn't there? I think I always took the work seriously, and also, it's all these things are led from the top anyway.
Yeah.
So if there's somebody there who's doing it and taking it seriously, you follow suit. Sometimes you have to be the one to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes there's a struggle in the room where people want to take the responsibility, but that in itself is a good thing, because it means everybody wants to take the responsibility, or more than one person does. I think, but I know the business has changed slightly. It's as to how we conduct ourselves in a room. Which I think for the most part is a very good thing, because I think there was often bullying and often things said and hissy fits, but it did always feel I was lucky enough to always be in rooms with people who, if that ever happened, it was always for the benefit of being a better piece of work,
And around that time as well, I mean, said you worked an awful lot in the Abbey, and worked with Druid on a play that I had the joy of directing myself a few years back, The Good Father, with Dervla. I mean, and I think there's working in that sort of intimate play compared to Jack Clitheroe, or compared to whatever, Macbeth, or compared to View from a Bridge. That must be great to have those kind of different opportunities to work in kind of a small space, to them working on a big stage. And is there kind of, not a preference, but is there a space, do either of those become more daunting or more natural to you?
I love the small spaces. I love the studio spaces. I love them. I've loved them because that was our Dargle Road experience.
Yeah.
You had everybody on top of you nearly, and I love that small scale stuff. But also I love the big spaces. I love the Abbey. I love the Olivier in London. I love that National Theatre space. It's a hard space to fill, and I, as a matter of fact, I revel in I think now, technical ability to be able to fill those spaces, vocally, with presence, with a physical kind of a authority. I think that's sounds like I'm blowing my trumpet here. I'm not, but I've learned these things over time, and like anybody, they're at the same time they're not tangible, because you can't bottle it, or I can't do it here for you.
Yeah.
But by the same token, they are tangible, because you put someone in a room and in those kind of environments, and you'll see very quickly.
Yeah.
It always becomes apparent to me when somebody isn't up to that, because that's when you really know. That's a thing that it's not for me to decide. I don't cast people, but you can tell when somebody's not.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that then the ingredients don't necessarily work together to make something really special, but that's not that person's fault, but it's just not ready for those jobs yet.
And in relation to, obviously you've got an association with Mark O'Rowe, and kind of went back to the Terminus and kind of that, that.
Yeah, not for years now, but we did have,
But back then, and I think the work around the Abbey was, one of the plays I remember was Doubt. Fascinating, brilliant play. But I think there was something you captured in that part, which was really, really interesting. Was that a good experience for you?
Yeah, very much so. Although Jerry Stanbridge, Jerry's a lovely guy. I'd never worked with Jerry. We'd done youth theatre stuff with Jerry in Tralee.
That's right.
Many years ago. So always had a real thing about him, being a real authority. So to work with him on that was great. Although he said something really funny to me on that. It's no secret, and I'm not I'm not telling tales out of school here, but Cherry had said to me, okay, so either you've done it or you haven't done it. Because you know, it's the whole thing with the priest. Has he abused the young boy or has he not abused the young boy? She said, so either you've done it or you've not done it. I says, right. He said, I don't want you to tell me until the last night of the play. And whereas that was an interesting thing for him to reach. It meant we never had the conversation in the rehearsal room as to how he could really shape that. He just didn't want to know. And then on the last day, he asked me, he said, so did you do it? Did you not do it? I said, no, I didn't do it. Oh, that's not interesting. He says, I had to play it like I didn't do it, whether you know, even maybe I hadn't, but I convinced myself that I hadn't. Like most of these people, you know, they're not convinced they're bad people.
Yeah.
So we missed the trick on that one, I think, slightly. But
I don't know, it worked.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I had to play it like with conviction.
Yeah.
That I hadn't done it, you know. But a lovely casting. Probably the only female role that nun, sister. God, what was her name? Breach played it. But the only. Well, sorry, not the only female, but a female role that I would love to play.
Yeah, it's a great part.
It's a brilliant part.
Yeah,
it's a brilliant part.
And Aidan, talk to me then about England and London, because it was around. I mean, not that you hadn't been there before, but it was around that time that kind of. How did Welsh Shakespeare happen? How did that kind of come about?
Oh, I came back. Well, I had been here for a while and returned home for a little bit for some personal reasons, and then when I came back after I went and I did Blasted. I remember in the Lyric Hammersmith, which was there's another show that really crystallized a lot of things. Everything just came together on that, and I won an Olivier as well. I'd met the casting director for the RSC, who came along one night with my English agent, and we talked and I remember saying to my agent, I said, you know, I think she might be casting for a season. Do you think I should ask her? Could I have an audition? You know, I mean, it was, she went, I don't know if you should just kind of mention that stuff out. And I went, fuck it. I said, listen, you've seen people? And she went, yeah. I said, can I be seen? She went, well, I think I was put her so much on the spot. And my agent, and she went, oh, yeah, okay. So I got in to meet, Michael Boyd was running it at the time. Sir Michael. The lovely Sir Michael Boyd, and I used to meet other directors, but the only other one I had to meet was Rupert Gould. He was doing a version of The Merchant of Venice, and yeah, it was great. I was in there. I was Macduff in Macca's, and I was one of the salads in Merchant of Venice. That was a great Merchant of Venice. There was another one that just. That was what's his name? Patrick Stewart was.
All right.
He was Shylock, so it got a lot of attention.
Yeah.
You know? But that was to move down to the West End. But again, you know, like I said, even the best things, all kinds of hassle with people not getting on with other people, and so plans were scuppered, and oh man, the politics is crazy. But
that's a long way from you know, the journey there from, you know, Ballybrack, Bray to standing in a rehearsal room with, you know, the Sirs and Patrick Stewart playing Macduff in Macbeth. And in not such a long period of time, you know, 10 years or so. That's an extraordinary journey, you know. And I think that's because I think, you know, it's one thing to kind of go and work in England, but like your career over there has seen you in the West End, has seen you in the RSC playing big parts, and then further to that you went into the national. I mean, that's brilliant.
Yeah, I'm very lucky, man. I'm very lucky. And again, no one told me, you know, you couldn't do it.
Yeah.
There's a kind of there is a thing here. And the work is here. It's brilliant. I mean, that stint in the RSC, I've said this many times, and it's worth repeating. You go into the RSC and you come out the other side a better actor.
Right.
Definitely. The training they give you while you're in there, the support you get. You don't just come in and rehearse a play. That's beside the point. the support you get for vocal and physical and spiritual, mental, everything. It's this. The support is massive because you're part of it. Their whole way of thinking about theatre, particularly under Michael Boyd, who left not long after that, and that was one of the saddest things that could happen to me because the guy who came in after, Greg Doran, he's brought it back into something from the 1950s. It's not the place it was at all. But Michael's whole thing was, if you go down there now, if you ever get a chance to go to Stratford, they have whole complexes that are given over to making the costumes. They have massive workshops. Same happens in the National. It's an industry, and the industry is not just the actors on a stage and then people coming in to see it. It breaks my heart about the Abbey. It breaks my heart. And that's within, they closed the workshop down. They make those sets now in Leeds or somewhere. Disgraceful, because the idea of theatre is not just the actors, it's the whole package. One of the last armourers in England makes the weapons for the RSC. It's an RSC employee. Like it's an RSC department. It's not. It wasn't even anything before. It's just. But these are one of the only people who do it. They make boots. They make hats. They make the costumes. The embroidery, the detail. All the support you get for this. They've 2 or 3 voice coaches. They've got movement directors and physios on hand, and they've got everything you need. The sets are incredible, and the backstage people they take such pride in the work that they do because they're part of an industry. And as a matter of fact, it's like film. We know this about film. You could have we watched the one-man film the other night, All Is Lost, the Robert Redford film. It's just him in a boat. Yeah, but the credits go on and on and on. All these people it takes to put that's the last thing you see. And theatre's the same. Theatre's no different. And when I rule the world, that'll be the first thing I do is create that industry, because it comes back. It all comes back.
Yeah.
Whatever money you put into it.
Yeah.
It comes back. It comes back in many ways.
No, I absolutely agree, and I think one of the joys, I suppose, of running a centre, which I do, is the kind of the reiteration or the constant reiteration that like what goes on stage is the end of a long process, because to be flippant about it, if a boiler goes here, we're all fucked. Do you know what I mean? Like, so it's about kind of that at a very base level.
Absolutely.
And come here, tell me then, you kind of came back, and it's funny, then you ended up doing Macbeth in the Abbey. After that must have been kind of a fantastic experience.
No, I done Mackers in the Abbey before the RSC.
Apologies.
Yeah, and the reason because I had a very happy time doing one in for Second Age.
Yes.
With Alan Stanford, and I'll maintain this is that I don't think anyone knows as much about Shakespeare to the extent Alan Stanford knows about Shakespeare.
Mm.
The man knows his Shakespeare, and he instills that confidence that he has in it. He instills that confidence in his actors. And he did a wonderful job on that Michael.
But a great company as well, and I think their work over the years has been hugely, not underrated, but I think not applauded in the way of kind of being able to do that work of that scale for many years until recently. Aidan, sorry, go back then in relation to, because you're going back to London then, and you kind of, not going back, you're in London then, you've done the National, and you're kind of coming back here to do work, but sorry, you've done the RSC, you come back here to do work, and then the National, then the kind of, you've been on telly recently on a not live stream, but on a recorded stream of the Treasure Island.
Aren't they brilliant?
They're amazing, yeah.
Did you see Frankenstein?
I did, yeah. Yeah, incredible. And then incredible.
Who did you watch as the monster?
I watched Benedict Cumberbatch.
Watch the other one, man. Watch the other one. Well, you see, Cumberbatch has that natural arrogance of the intellectual, and that's why he does a great Doctor Strange and Sherlock. He has that natural ruling class arrogance as the Doctor, so he's perfect for that. It's a bit
Yeah.
of a nothing part. But your man Johnny Lee Miller as the monster, he's incredible.
Okay. Talk to me though then about the national, about kind of, you know, I mean, obviously the Silver Tassie, you know, an extraordinarily brilliant play, difficult play, and getting the chance to play Teddy in that on the national stage must have been incredible.
Did you see that?
No.
It's too bad, man. That was a wonderful show.
Yeah.
That was a wonderful, wonderful production. Howard Davies was a marvelous director. Lord have mercy on him. He was a marvelous, marvelous director. He knew his O'Casey as well. There was a man who knew it. And the great thing about that production was he didn't even try and make it an Irish production. Because as soon as I believe anyway, and I believe in Irish, as soon as an Irish director, it's a little bit, it's the weight of O'Casey and the expectation that's involved from a people, because he's our national playwright. He's, you know, particularly in a Dublin sense. He was free of all those constraints, and what he did with it was he made it into, it was a piece of music. It was absolutely beautiful, and again everything came together on that. And the National itself didn't give it the credit it should have got. They never did an NT Live of that, but the God, they should have. It was brilliant. It was marvelous.
And it's interesting. Yeah. It's interesting that English director, and O'Casey, because one of the finest plows that I saw was Sean Holmes's one that he did a few years ago in the Abbey. But again, it was a text rather than, you know, a history. And then around the time Aidan once, like I suppose just two questions here. Like, was music playing with you throughout your career? I mean, the people in rehearsal rooms know, oh, here's Aidan and he plays and sings. You know, would that be kind of a constant known about?
Yeah, no. I never got known for that, or never. I mean, I'm an amateur musician, and I always have been. But there's a less of a there's a blurring of those lines here. I mean, you know, there's most of the actors here, and it's been my experience of being here, and it's worth talking about. It is what they call them, the triple threat. They can sing, they can dance, they can act. It's just the same. And theatre here has changed in such a way that, you know, somebody will be talking and they break into song, or they'll do something. Instruments will come out, and it's those things. And I think once it certainly brought that in, the actor muso thing. You know, you had up to then, you had your big musicals. You got the musicians in the pit and the actors. But now there's more of a crossover in those things. That became quite a fashion, I think, for a while.
Yeah.
But that's always been the case here, and I think that's been my experience of being here, and what I've learned, and I'm grateful for it. Is they're much more technically minded here.
Mm.
It takes something away. I mean, you know, I've always said this, is that from an Irish thing is that we have a different acting style to the English. We think we don't, but we really do. I mean, it comes from the Olivier school. I'm acting and I'm letting you know that I'm acting. But look how wonderfully I'm acting. Whereas the Irish thing has always been more like, God, is that person actually really like that? You know? And it turns out, no, they're not, but that's how they act. It makes you think that maybe they're not acting, you know? I mean, it's subtle, maybe, but it's there. It's definitely there. Okay. It's great to be able to do both, and it's great to be able to lend one to the other, because again, and you know, I'm saying shit, people go, that's wrong, he's wrong, but that's okay. I mean, you know, but you're hard pressed, particularly in theatre, you're hard pressed to find a visceral English actor. You throw a stone in Ireland, you're going to hit one.
Yeah.
You know, but to they don't do. I don't know if the university or the colleges, I don't know if they knock it out of them. It's a little bit. Isn't that whole thing? Isn't it? Is that in Ireland, you've got, you know, the ruling classes as such are all people who've done well at their leaving cert and are good at learning facts and remembering them on the day. It's a particular mindset, isn't it? They're the people who go on then to get the best university courses and do that same thing. And they run the country then. And who do they hire? They hire people like them. So, and I think theatre as an institution is no different.
I think it's an interesting,
to a great extent. You get the directors hire people like them, and they tend to come from Cambridge, Oxford, RADA. These things matter, and they're the kind of actors who do very well here. But they're a certain kind of actor.
Yeah, I think there's a difference. It's interesting, kind of looking from this side in, and from kind of having experience of spending time in England watching plays, and I think there's a regional differences to what you're saying, and I also think
yes, it is. Yeah.
In the last 10, 15 years, television has been and film has been a real space where actors who might not come from that kind of background have really, I'm thinking of people like Stephen Graham and people of that ilk who kind of have just burnt. But you're right. I mean, I think like when I was growing up and starting out, it was the same thing. You kind of, you know, RADA, RSC, there was an ilk that kind of surrounded that. And I think that's really interesting to have those barriers changed over the years between Ireland, Wales, Scotland, and England, and even London and Manchester. And because I think what we tend to forget is like England is a big country, both geographically and population wide. And I think as much as we talk about a new voices emerging into Irish theatre in the last 10 or 15 years, I think the same thing is happening across there, both from a socio-economic and maybe in the last 20 years from a regional basis, where some of the best Shakespeare has been made way outside of London and way outside of your RP as well.
Yes, I think you're right. And I think, yes, I mean, you know, the difference is socio-economic and cultural, yeah, and mindset-wise. I mean, the theatre's become such an expensive game here, you know, and yet it's so badly paid here. I mean, it's better money in Ireland. You do know that. You get better paid in Ireland for being a theatre actor than you do in England.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen here. But then today in the news is it the Nuffield Theatre? Yeah. That's gone into administration. It's the first of many. These theatres are going to fold now.
Yeah.
You know, theatre's not going to survive this. This is the other thing. You know, where does theatre go from here? I mean, how do you get out there? You know, I think all of this. I think this streaming stuff is the way forward. I think for the medium to long term, anyway. It's.
I think it's interesting. I think there's and I'm talking to the moment and kind of living along parallel lives. There's the one line of kind of talking to your finance manager and talking to your board and talking to your colleagues, going, there's a big black hole there. And then there's the other side of kind of, I suppose what we all do naturally is looking for the innovation, looking for the creativity, and it's about kind of trying to hold those two spaces at the same time. And I think in Ireland, because we're smaller, there might be more of a kind of cultural connection between the wider sector. But in the UK, I can imagine it's huge. So you're kind of dealing with very disparate, you know, pulls on things there.
Money wise.
Yeah, money wise, and also the optics around just what we were talking about there, different areas of the country and different processes and different kind of places that might have been in difficulty before, now finding it very, very difficult.
Yeah. I think it's going to have to. I think it's going to have to start streaming. And the thing is that watching these national things. Okay, I know we've got the money, and I was part of that. I was part of one of them, and the set involved was just incredible. I mean, the set is amazing, but it still doesn't take away from the fact that what's really people are watching for is the story, the how you think. I mean, that whole Frankenstein thing was wonderful from that point of view. What is it that creates a monster? You know what I mean? I mean, these are the things, and you forget after about 15 minutes that you're watching a play. You're just going with the story, and there's no reason why they couldn't be doing that in Manchester, and there's no reason why I say this, you know, and I'm not a money man, but the idea that because you won't get 500 people sitting in a room for a long time. But you could get 10 people on a stage or 5 people on the stage.
Yeah.
You can tell that story. And if you charge everyone £2, you're going out there, it's cheaper than the price of a ticket, and things are ticking over, you know? I don't know. I just think we're so creative. Theatre shouldn't be the one thing that doesn't change in all of this.
Yeah. No, I think it's also, I think there's a lot there in what you said, and I think there's also the sense of missing that, both from an audience and a practitioner point of view, missing that kind of live space. But I do think there's kind of there's kind of sections or, you know, timelines in relation to all our kind of recovery and emergence from this, and I think we're only now coming out of the shock and awe phase. So I think there needs to be a space of it's not going to be about just reopening, and maybe in some ways it shouldn't be, because there's things that need to be kind of looked at in relation to, as you say, in relation to the amount of money that goes into the arts, in relation to the industry side of it, in relation to the amount of actors and freelancers are kind of paid. But I think it's also, there has to be that kind of grieving bit as well, of kind of going, Jesus Christ, the world is changed now, and changed from the short to medium term at the least, and how do we all kind of take that on board? And a basic fear of people losing their income. And because the arts is, you know, it's a very vocational and passion driven and emotional field, it's also people losing a sense of what they do and who they are because of what they do. And that's painful as well.
Yeah, that's another thing, actually. Just 2 things you said there. And one is that about the live experience. I think more than the live experience, I think it's the shared experience.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's anything different because everyone's been watching these things. You get 1.7 million people watching the Benedict Cumberbatch as the monster. And the thing is, that's a shared experience. I mean, you know, I honestly believe that. I honestly believe that we can feel we're part of a shared experience by all knowing that we're watching this thing within a particular time frame for a particular amount of time. They did the fish shamble, did the Monday and the Sunday and the Monday.
Yeah.
Anybody tuned into that was part of a shared experience, because it was something that was coming and then it was going to go again. It's the first thing. The other thing, oh sugar, I forget what the second I was going to say.
It was
something to do with. Sorry, I'll tell you what it was. And I think this is a really important thing, and I really do, is that as you know, I've had work cancelled now. We all are. I'm down. You know, the guts of. I'm down a lot of money.
Yeah.
Through the telly and a play that was meant to be starting in a couple of weeks. You know, that's all gone. Those things are gone. But they're not the only things I do. You know, I showed you my microphone here.
Yeah.
I have a studio. I turn this place into a studio. That's an acoustic blanket that fits over the window. So this becomes my studio. I do audiobooks from here. That's become another string to my bow. It's all the technical elements of that. They've been worth getting hold of. I do corporate stuff. There's so many Irish actors here who I work with. We all do this corporate thing. The money is good money, and in a way, I think, as much as the industry is decimated here, most actors will not be decimated here. That's because they all have to be able to do something else to survive here.
Yeah.
And I know from living in Ireland is that you can make a good living out of being just an actor, just that one thing. But this has exposed that as well slightly. I think people need not necessarily. Well, you do. You need other strings to your bow. You do.
Yeah. Well, I think with the kind of demise of funding in the last kind of 10, 15 years in Ireland, I think there's been a huge growth in that framework, the wider kind of cultural theatre maker framework, people trying to develop and get money from every source. So I think that has changed radically in the last 10 years. And I think what's been unveiled actually is the dearth of funding and opportunities to make, you know what I mean, to kind of move in the space, and also the fact that Ireland's small. I think that you know is a problem in relation to developing an industry that has, you know, a lot of people in it. Aidan, can I just bring it back a second, just before I kind of let you go? You kind of, as I said, you've worked in a lot of national theatres, and And you mentioned once there, and the Irish feeling, like, is it a different thing for you, or has it kind of emerged as a different thing for you, kind of being Irish now, living in London through your work? Has that kind of shifted that in your head, like from kind of coming back to work at the National or here, or kind, or is that? I'm always interested in that feeling of Irishness, and that does that change?
Very much so. Good question, and it's something I often think about. And I had been I've been doing the Pride of Parnell Street with Mary Murray,
Yeah.
and Sebastian Barry had come on tour. We were in New York. He was giving a talk, and got into that talk, that very thing, like, what it is to be Irish in England. And he I'll never forget, he said, we have to tell our stories to each other. And I've been here for 12 years now, and I've still work in Ireland.
Yeah.
As a matter of, for the last couple of years, it's been mostly in Ireland and not here, not on the stage here.
Yeah.
I can't afford it. But even when I'm really conscious of not telling our stories to each other. And when I go back, even when we do something that isn't Irish, it doesn't matter. It's our shared experience as Irish people. And maybe I'm sentimental. I don't think I am, though. I think probably one of the greatest. They've got two great experiences. Two really special. And one of them was with your wife, Mark O'Brien. We did Paddy and Clogs.
God, yeah.
Myself and Helen. And that was a really special show because of the people who we did it for. The most open, honest people. Team theatre, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was wonderful. It was a really special piece of theatre, and I remember it very fondly. And I think I've said this to you before to say it to you. I often say it to you.
Yeah.
It really sticks out in my mind. How long ago was that? It's like 20 years ago.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah, but the other one was, and for this very reason that I'm talking about, was the inside the GPO, where we got to be in the very place where it all happened, playing the people who were there, and if anything, Chris, I mean, that was the absolute thing of actually being of retelling our national myth. Yeah. I mean, that's the ultimate version of it. Yeah. Everything we do, I'm looking at the posters behind you. Cleaners, Waiting for Elvis, The Good Father. I can see all these posters behind you. They're the same thing. I mean, that was just the kind of, that was it on steroids. But that's, you know what I mean? That's we are telling our stories to each other. And the more I think about what we do, the more I realize that's ultimately what I want to do and keep on doing.
Cool. Well, look, that's a perfectly framed way to finish, Mr. Kelly. An absolute joy to chat to you, as always. And I can't wait to have a pint with you next time you're... Oh, well, sorry, if we're allowed go into a pub, A, and if you're ever allowed back into the country, B.
I'm gonna have to get back in soon. I'm gonna have to get back in. I think I'm gonna have to do 2 weeks in quarantine, but I'm gonna have to come back to go to work. Yeah. Because they've been giving me a little bit of the money, so
you better do the work.
I have to do the work. I gotta pay them back by saying shit.
Thanks a million, Aidan. Thanks a million.
Mark,
all right.
love you. Talk to you.